Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being with us this evening. My name is Erica Caloiero, and I'm here this evening with UVM's Director of Residential Life, Charles Holmes-Hope. We're also joined by UVM's Provost and Senior Vice President, Patty Prelock. On behalf of the three of us, I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us this evening. It has been another gorgeous fall day here in Burlington. We're here in the 9th week of the semester, which is, of course, the stretch of the semester that includes Halloween and Thanksgiving break. Our format this evening is an information share, and I want to let everyone know that we're recording the presentation and we will share it back out with you and with other audiences very soon. Because our format is an information share, we're going to be inviting questions via an email address that we'll share at the end of the presentation. And all of the questions that we field, we will be compiling into an FAQ that we will share out at the same time that we share the presentation with you. We want to be able to identify the most frequently asked questions and provide a thorough, thoughtful response to each with resources as appropriate. And in the event that you pose a question that isn't answered in the FAQ, you will receive a personal and individual response to your question. Next slide, please. So why are we here this evening? Well, what brings us together this evening is, as you read in the invitation, an unfortunate and an unprecedented situation that we've seen evolving in our residence halls this semester. We've seen a concerning increase in damage being done in residential halls. And because our UVM families, parents, families, and caregivers have always been some of our strongest partners over time and provided incredibly valuable feedback and input, Charles and I, together with Patty, decided to share the situation and our concerns directly with you in a spirit of partnership and openness. We have a great degree of confidence that we can successfully and quickly address the situation that we're here to talk about, and that we'll do so working together. I won't beat around the bush, though. We are coming to you to ask you for your help. To be clear, we don't believe that a majority of on-campus students are intentionally damaging UVM's buildings. We do believe it's likely a small number of students. It's the magnitude of damage, and because it's community level, that really has led us to a place of understanding that a community level approach is how we're going to bring things to a better place. We hope that after this presentation, you will consider talking to your student about the kind of community that they want to be part of, that they aspire to be part of, and what their role is in actively helping that to be created. I'm going to ask Charles to speak now, and part of what you'll see are some photographs. So Charles, please go ahead.
Thanks, Erica, and hello, parents and guardians. It's good to be in this space with you this evening. As you can see from the screen here, there are a couple of slides that I want to highlight to really highlight the damages that we've experienced in our halls over the past couple of weeks. These images that you are seeing now are from our UVM halls after it was damaged. What you're looking at is significant damage to our ceilings, our heat vents, exit stairwell signs, and life emergencies to use for incidents on campus. I'm showing you one floor, but in many cases, the entire floor for one community was damaged. This gives you a snapshot of one of our halls on campus, as you can see from the screen. The next slide you will see are more examples of university property being destroyed in our resident halls. In the image on your left, an elevator door was removed. I don't know how, but it was no accident. If a student or a guest who is visually impaired walked into this elevator, they would have experienced real harm. On the right side, someone tore off a cat car door access that students use to enter our resident hall buildings on campus. These are a big part of our safety and security in our halls. They prevent people who are not supposed to be in those communities from getting inside. And when they were removed, our student safety was at risk. To those of you who are listening this evening, I want you to know that how much I care about our college experience and the safety of each and every student here at UVM. I know that you love them for a long time, and I take very seriously my part in their development here at UVM with their safety as being our top priority in campus housing. Here are a few screenshots that we grabbed from social media. In these, there are students posting images like this one on the left, destroying campus property by throwing it around. This makes me worried about the safety of those students in those communities, and of course, of people who are in nearby. I worry about that someone will get extremely hurt on campus. Other examples include someone removing a large electrical panel from this box in the center photo. If it was tampered with and the wires were exposed, someone could have been seriously injured or hurt. On the right side, students in our resident halls threw bed rails or other heavy items from a room down the stairwell. Those objects could have seriously hurt or, my greatest fear, killed someone. This behavior should shock us all. As someone who worked in campus housing field for more than 2 decades, 22 years to be exact, I know for certain that our resident halls where our students come are made for good experiences and traditions to share. Students build a sense of belonging and community in those communities. And what I'm showing you does not represent the vast majority of our community. However, it is impacting everyone in our residential spaces.
That's absolutely right. And thank you, Charles, for talking us through those images. I want to underscore that what we're seeing is not normal wear and tear, and it is unlike anything we've seen before. For those who are curious about the cost of the damage, we're seeing in excess of 6 figures. And the other piece I want to underscore is that there are life safety related repairs that need to be made fairly regularly. And this is it's really, really not okay. We have as a top priority, the safety of students at UVM. Likely what we're seeing, and we do understand this, is that it's the intersection of the wrong choices and behaviors, along with alcohol consumption and the accompanying disinhibition that can occur. Next slide. So we wanted to share the bad news with you right out of the gate. We wanted to ground us all in the concerns that we have. Now we want to talk a bit about the environment that we work to build, which is, as you can see in this image, a memory that many of you probably have, move-in day. Now, this is college, so we're going to take a minute to talk about a little bit of theory. We think about transition theory as crystallized by the ideas of moving in, moving through, and moving on. Transition theory tells us about major moments and major phases of change in college. And then college student development theory, that longer arc of the college years, tells us about some of the major developmental tasks that students accomplish by encountering different challenges in college. College is a time of rapid change, and much of what we do at UVM is engineered to catalyze and also to support the changes that students are going through. Of course, the peer group and the faculty and the staff who are here are integral to this process. We also really acknowledge and want to state our recognition of the fact that students' access to some social development opportunities in high school were truncated by pandemic realities. Their access to some appropriate and typical challenges was very suddenly and very severely limited in most cases. as humans, as people, we have the tendency to occupy different spaces and different mindsets differently. And that compartmentalization becomes less pronounced as students navigate multiple contexts, and in particular social contexts like classes, field experiences, an array of social environments, work, for many students, independent travel, coming and going to and from campus for breaks and the like. And again, the time leading up to college was very, very different for this group of students. They've been impacted in ways that are hard to overstate. What we see is that the stress seems bigger to some students, and so the reaction to that stress is bigger as well. And for some of us, that may be true too. Things, hassles and minor irritations sometimes prompt outsized reactions on our part. That said, and I think this is true for many of us and for students, the chance to reflect on hard things can help us see them for what they are. There may be things we want to vent about a little, but that venting doesn't need to go to the place of a wholesale condemnation of what may actually be a metaphorical pebble in the shoe. Even if that pebble gives us a blister, it's a problem that can be dealt with. So what I'm sharing with you is exactly the kind of perspective that as parents and caregivers, we can offer students. We can listen without piling on. In fact, instead, we can ask thoughtful and caring questions that allow for open-endedness, that don't seek closure or conclusions, and that affirm our view, and this really is true, our view that they are doing a very good job, all things considered, a good job in college, a good job adapting and adjusting. It's no longer our job to fix problems for students, but to provide the space for them to work through the problems that they encounter. Next slide, please. Over to Charles. Charles, you're muted.
Thanks, Erica. As you will notice, our values in campus housing are similar towards those developmental and transitional theories that, as Erica mentioned, and that's no accident. We believe in being intentional here in campus housing that contributes towards the campus experience. And we do that through many ways. One is to provide safety and inclusive communities for our students here at UVM. And that's through an array of opportunities like programs, RA engagement, things that really will engage and involve our students here at UVM. Our learning environments leverage innovative and proven practices to create community where students are healthy, engaged, and successful. And I would share too that we do that through an array of our core pillars, and those are innovation, collaboration, equity, and inclusion, and communities. And our goal is really to support the academic enterprise of UVM, but also to engage our students in becoming more self-aware about who they are, community responsibility, justice, and inclusion in global education. And that is through many ways, such as which you see on the screen now. This is more on the lines of what we envision: connections and strong student engagement opportunities for our students here at UVM. At our community, best, we are open, inclusive, and respectful to the communities and the students who live in those environments. That is the work that we strive to do each and every day in our resident halls. Next slide, please. To that end, our purpose in campus housing is to develop their residential experiences so that they are clean, they are attractive, they are well maintained, comfortable, and inclusive towards the environment for our students living in those spaces. Our resident halls also provide an environment that promotes learning and growth in a broader sense, that provides programs, services, training, technology, as well as emphasize the academic experience and success of our students in those communities. It's a big job and we love it. And we do that through many ways. We believe in campus housing that is the bed about the college experience, really to support the mission of the university. So we do that in many ways through our learning communities, which are phenomenal here at UVM. And they help to create sense of belonging and friends. We support the academic achievement for our students in those communities. We help students to develop life skills that are lifelong and creating new opportunity to become peer leaders here at UVM. We foster diversity, equity, and inclusion to engage students around different perspectives and ideas for growth and understanding for all. And we try to leverage a safe and nurturing community that promotes student wellness and success here at UVM. I will end by saying that damages creates insecurity to our communities. And we are trying to help our students to understand what this community means here at UVM. When we see damages in our resident halls, it takes away from those opportunities that build community, student agency, and does not allow for experiences to blossom here in ways that we know they can do in our communities. Erica, back to you.
Thank you so much, Charles. Okay, well, as you've seen in the images that Charles shared of damage, as well as in the images that Charles shared of the context and the environment that we work hard to create, the semester goes beyond a reasonable definition of wear and tear or even rambunctiousness. And again, we're worried that someone could get hurt. We have worked through a lot of options, and some are clearly not options. Doing nothing, for example, is simply not an option. Ultimately, as I mentioned before, a community level problem takes a community level response. Next slide, please. So what we're asking of you is the following. We humbly request that you consider talking to your student in the next day or two. That timing is important. With Halloween rapidly approaching, it should be a fun time. We encourage students to dress up in costumes, get together with friends, maybe decorate their rooms. And in doing so, we want students to be mindful of safety and community care. There's no reason to turn fun into community damage. We know students are well and fully capable of treating their residential communities with the respect that Charles referenced. If you choose to talk to your student, and I very much hope that you do, I encourage you to ask questions and listen while they process. And redirect any tendency to vent or deflect simply by asking what students themselves can do. They're living in their home away from home. How can they view it through this lens, and how can they care for it as their home? You could inquire whether there's a substance-related factor to what they're seeing or what they're experiencing. And if yes, how can they be part of better peer group choices and decisions? It can be hard to limit yourself to open-ended questions and to resisting the urge to fix or provide solutions for students who have not navigated this before. But our experience, and likely yours, is that this is really the most effective way to engage students in deep reflection about the community that they want to be part of. It can be easy to name problems. It can be harder to choose to be part of the solution, or indeed to think about what solutions might look like from person to person. But as I said at the beginning, I have total confidence in our ability to address this together and to make swift change. Next slide, please. I'm going to introduce here Provost Prelock, who will speak to us a bit about her high-level perspective about community response.
Thank you so much, Erica, and thank you both to Charles and Erica for having this presentation and inviting me. And for our families out there, I'm sure when you saw the pictures and the videos, I don't know how you felt, but the first time I saw them this week, I was mortified. And I realized, though, that, our presentation this evening is really about ensuring the safety of our students, as well as committing to accountability for their behavior. we know, and Charles and Erica have explained in an important way, that our entire community is impacted by the behaviors we've seen across the residential halls, whether it's our student RAs, facilities personnel, our residential directors, the peers of students who are engaged in the destructive behavior, whether they're right next door or down the hall. So I can share with you my own personal story with my oldest son, who actually graduated from UVM in 2002. And I believe it was the second semester of his first year, and I got a bill for $300 for damages that occurred to his floor. So, of course, I had a conversation with him and I said, okay, tell me what happened here and why is this cost coming to us? And he said, well, there was some damage to the floor. And I said, were you involved? Well, I didn't really do the damage. And I said, well, did you know who did? Did you see who was doing it? Yeah. Did you try and stop it? No. Was there drinking involved? Yes. I said, were you drinking? Of course, my son was always honest with me, said yes. And I said, okay, here's my expectation. You know better. You could have given feedback to your peers. You have a strong connection with your floor mates. And so the summer job that you're starting at the end of this semester, the first $300 are going to pay off this fine. I'm not paying it. And so the important thing is he lived another year on the residential hall. I never got another bill for damages. I think my point is that George knew that he was supposed to be part of a community. He was engaged with his peers. He knows better, as many of his peers do. And he knew at the time that probably not a good decision to engage in this or to watch people doing it, knowing that it's going to come back to us. So I hope that you will engage your student in conversation about community care. You know, the students are doing amazingly well in their classes academically. I love working with them. I just had the opportunity to meet with some student advisor groups under Erica's area for student affairs. So they have wonderful ideas. You've done an amazing job. Bringing your students forward and giving them the opportunities to learn. And I know we can do better than this. And I also know as they're going through this developmental process that they're going to make mistakes. And my son tried to tell me that too. Well, Mom, as I'm growing up, this is just some things that we do. And I said, yes. And then you're responsible for those behaviors. You must be accountable for those. So I think that's our point, that we understand this is a developmental process. We understand this is the transition to college. We understand that kids are going to do things that we wish they wouldn't do. And what they have to understand is if you make a decision to do that, there are consequences for that behavior. And I'm hoping, because in Charles's role, he has really worked hard to create this framework and principles for how we engage with one another. And this really fits with our common ground for the entire campus, that you don't do this because this is not only going to hurt you, but it hurts everyone around you. And that's really what we're trying to really develop and educate and support the next leaders of our generation. And I know sometimes they don't have the greatest models at a national level, but they have a chance to be change agents. And giving them feedback and having them be accountable for their behavior is the first step. It's a hard lesson, but it's one that if they learn now, it will help them navigate the challenges going forward. So I know that I'm going to give it back to Erica, and I know there's going to be a link for you to make sure that if you have questions, that you can send questions forward. And I believe Erica said at the beginning that we will do an FAQ, and this presentation is being recorded so that you'll have access to it. So Erica or Charles, is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes, thanks so much, Patty. I really appreciate that. Let's see. Let's go to our last slide, please. As Patty mentioned, we have been recording the presentation this evening, and we will share it out very soon. We know that others who were not able to attend will be interested in watching it. Again, our format has been to share quite a bit of information this evening, starting with an explanation and some images that have shown the kind of damage that we've seen. We've described why we believe it's a problem for our community. We've shared why we think it requires a community level response. And we have, I hope, made a compelling case to you as parents and caregivers and guardians, why your involvement would be so powerful and so supportive of your students as they are, as they're living in the residential context here. The email address that you see on your screen, studentaffairs@uvm.edu, is the email address to use to submit or pose questions to us. Again, we've shared a lot, and we absolutely invite questions. What we want to do is be able to compile an FAQ so that when we share the presentation, everybody who watches it will be able to benefit from both the questions and the information that we'll share in response to the questions you pose. So we'll compose that FAQ and share that back out when we share the recording. And in the event that you have a highly specific or situation specific question, you'll get an individual response from a member of our staff. On behalf of Charles and Patty and myself, I want to extend again my thanks to you for choosing to spend the time this evening hearing about the challenges that we're experiencing. I hope, again, that you will consider inviting your student into a conversation within the next day or two. And I hope you'll share with us other ways in which we can support your student and support your family on this shared journey here at the University of Vermont. Thanks again, and have a good evening.